Lakunle, please come this way so that.
Morning, Zibby. Lakunle.
Okay. Okay, so Devoe is there, so he'll do his one.
Morning. Can you hear me?
You're listening to Smooth 98.1. This is Freshly Pressed. We're looking at the news stories making the headlines this morning. As always, we'd love for you to be a part of the conversation. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. We're streaming live on YouTube as well, so you can catch that live stream up on our YouTube channel. It is Smooth 981. The analysts are in, and this morning it's Lakunle and Devoe. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, President Zibby. Good morning, Mr. Devoe. Good morning, all our listeners. And like Devoe used to say, what is the echo for today?
Devoe is like a willy right now because one moment I can
Morning.
see Devoe, the next I can't see
Morning.
him. Okay,
Morning,
good morning,
world. Morning,
Devoe.
Zibby. Morning, world. Morning, Zibby. Morning, Lakunle. Cool. Which levy you pay?
Cybersecurity level.
All right, once again, the WhatsApp number 0809 981. Let's start off with the first headline. And this one is coming from Daily Trust. NLC, which is the Nigeria Labour Congress, kicks against cybersecurity levy. Devo?
Right. The NLC, as one of the bodies that agitates on behalf of the welfare of the people, more especially its union members, has rejected the newly introduced 0.5% cybersecurity levy to be charged on all bank transactions. Obviously, the news is going around as the CBN issued a circular to all financial institutions, from banks, non-interest banks, payment service banks, to implement this levy in about 2 weeks, right? Now, it's referred to as a cybersecurity levy. They were acting on a cybersecurity act, which now they are implementing on electronic transfers. This money will be raised to be able to address some of the cybersecurity concerns that the nation has, which will be operated under the NSA's, that's the National Security Advisor's Office. Well, the truth is, I think there's still a build-up as regards the acceptance of this levy. Many people are literally in outrage, apart from the NLC, because they believe Nigerians are already taxed enough. Now, on one side, let me say that cybersecurity, yes, is one of the biggest threats to national security, but it's like the demon or the thief that is not seen. It's invisible. It's not just about cryptocurrency, but many banks, as for what people don't know, many people have different transactions that they cannot explain. Sometimes there's the work of hackers and underground people who intercept and even hack into your different financial platforms. Now, the infrastructure to address most of these things does cost a lot of money. And what you expect is that Nigeria ramps up on this level. It's expected to raise about 3 trillion naira for the NSA's office to address some of these issues. Now, the truth is there a need for cybersecurity initiatives and all of that? Yes. Should Nigerians be the ones to bear the brunt? Well, at the end of the day, the question is what is done with the money that government takes from Nigerians? And at that point, it's no longer about cybersecurity. It's about the multiple and the innumerable forms of taxation that already exist. And that's where this issue now becomes a critical matter. And I think for those who don't know, the CBN needs to do a little more, what I call it, stakeholder communication to all Nigerians locally and globally to understand what this means. It's not I think that 0.5% is badly communicated, because it's supposed to be like, if I'm correct, 1 naira on 1,000, about 5 naira on 10,000, and then if you're moving about 1 million, about 5,000 naira will be deducted. The point is, just like all the other charges, like stamp duty charge, etc., and co., you may not feel it. Actually, you may not feel it when it's being deducted, but when you put it amidst all the other charges that keep coming, that's when you begin to say what is going on here. So I expect the government to, first of all, explain better how these deductions will take place. One, two, we need to have a concrete plan as to what the government will do with this money. It's not just to deduct and then at the end of the day, because let's take it with the entry of this administration, we were told that the removal of subsidy, OT law, was to raise that the government could not carry that subsidy. One, remember, it was going at that time, it was about 500 billion every month. And it came up to about 7 trillion naira in a year. And that if Nigerians pay that amount, we would have more money to do more things. So what are those more things that have been done? They just removed electricity tariff, even though they reduced it by a fraction. What is being done with the money that's being raised? This is where the real hammer lies. And Nigerians want to know, they want to see, they want some level of accountability in all these taxations that are taking place. Is it not the same presidency or presidents that said, let the poor breathe? Mr. President, you are choking Nigerians. I rest my case.
May I quickly just say that? All right, so one of the things that I always advocated is what has happened to us now as a citizen of Nigeria. Where were we when this law was passed in 2015 for the first time? When it was announced that it was passed, what did we do as a people? What happened to our lobby groups? What happened to our civil liberties organizations? What happened to all of us in challenging that law at that time? When it was reviewed in 2018, what did we do? When it was also reviewed in 2024, what did we do? We waited till somebody wakes up and say, let us activate. That's level one. Level two then comes to the idea that, okay, it's okay to tax people, of course. Even the Holy Books tells us that tax we must pay, yeah? Now, like Devoe said, what is done with the tax is then important to us, that we follow what the money is done. But what we look at, what is happening to Nigeria at this point in time, where we are, the removal of subsidy on petroleum products, on electricity, food inflation at about almost 40%, and all that. It probably might not be the right time to impose this tax. Having said that, also, when we look at other things, my first question when I saw this story was to say, look, security, the military, police, NSCDC, and all the other ones, they get their funding for their activities directly from the Consolidated Revenue Fund and the FAC accounts of the government. Why is the government passing the funding of this thing to the citizens? Why not from the same source where the money for the other security arms and agencies is coming from? The primary job of the government is to provide security, so they are passing it. So they are telling us indirectly is that if you don't pay this money, I will not guarantee your security on the internet. That's what it generally implies. So, but now it's a law. We have no choice. Our representatives have passed the law, and the best thing now we now to do is to lean on our representatives in the National Assembly to go back and look at it and review this. If we don't like it, that's what the beauty of democracy. If we don't like it, we pressure our representatives in the National Assembly to change it.
All right, let's look at some of the messages that we have coming through. Ajayi says, with the barrage of taxes and charges being imposed by the administration, coupled with the unending rise in the cost of goods and services, it appears the government is offering renewed suffering instead of hope. Laddie says, it will be good for the NSA and the CBN to be clear about what the KPIs attached to this deduction. The customers mostly, and sometimes the banks, bear the liability for cyber losses. Will cyber-related crimes be reduced as part of their KPI? Will they refund the victims and banks for cyber losses? Yemi from Marina says, Did I hear the analyst say I will not feel 5K on top of my 1 million naira rent or 5 million on my 1 billion naira investment? While the levy is a good thing, the rate is too high. Please, let's do the right thing. God bless Nigeria. And Cisco Delgado says cybersecurity is the practice of protecting internet connected systems such as hardware, software, and data from cyber threats. Thanks for the definition, Cisco. And he says, what is a tomato seller in market savings, his or her earnings in the bank? What does it have to do with cybersecurity? I rest my case. Let's move on to the next headline, and this one comes from Punch. Federal government woos global investors for 17 oil blocks.
So I took this story with mixed feelings somehow. So in the last 5 to 10 years, we've had all our IOCs at one point or the other divesting from various various mining operations in Nigeria, particularly the ones onshore, and we've had a few of them even divesting entirely and leaving Nigeria and all that. Now here we are. Gbenga Komolafe, the chief executive of the NUPRC, that's the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission, was at the Offshore Technology Conference in the United States and is offering about 12 oil blocks to international businesses to come buy off Nigeria. Nigeria is home to, or rather, Nigeria sits on about 30% of oil and gas resources in the whole of Africa. So, what then do we say when you approach a new investor? The first, when they ask you the question, the ones that were with you, why did they leave? What explanation will we give to attract these new investors? The Nigerian investors in the business, how have they, the ones who bought the ones that the IOCs and others left behind, how have they fared in the industry? We still battle with illegal bunkering, insecurity in that place, our refinery not up and running, and so on and so forth. So if we have all those problems, why aren't we treating those problems and making and naturally investors will be the one running after Nigeria to invest their monies? We have not looked at the reasons people are leaving. We're asking people to come. That because the first question they will ask is those ones that are leaving, why are they leaving? Why is this thing not attractive to people? So, and we know that Nigeria needs money, or maybe this is a sign that the other sectors of the Nigerian economy, agriculture, manufacturing, and others should look at this as an opportunity to grow their own industry to make money for Nigeria. I'm not excited about that people will rush this thing. I hope it happens. That is hope and pray. But with what is on ground, I'm not certain that new people would come here to come and take up this thing. But fingers crossed, we hope that they can get people who will take them. But the numbers and the what is on ground isn't looking good.
All right, let us know your thoughts. 0809 Tony Chima says the cybersecurity tax is only aimed at weakening Nigerians economically. If not, they would have used the security votes collected by the 37 states in Nigeria to address both the cybersecurity and internal security. Ibrahim Zakari says, I'm appalled with the new cybersecurity levy. When will the Nigerian people breathe peacefully? Does this administration have human sympathy at all? If our labor union is still relevant, then they should resist this draconian form of tax. Adewale says they've not caught terrorists, but now want to tackle faceless agents. No accountability. Someone would most likely loot this money and there won't be consequences. Next headline comes from Vanguard. Bank of Industry, African Development Bank, and the National Information Technology Development Agency have partnered to drive digital literacy in Nigeria. Devoe?
Can you hear me? Sorry, story 5, please.
Okay. Let's look at some of the messages coming through. AB Amble says, it's good to pay a small amount of money to stop cyber criminals from stealing money from our bank accounts. However, the biggest threat to financial security is the financial crimes in government establishments. Of course, the Central Bank of Nigeria cannot ask us to pay for a secure public treasury. But if the focus is on cyber criminals while politicians are allowed to steal public money, then we're missing the point. We must treat ringworms, but we should not neglect the more serious case of leprosy. And that's from AB from Badagry. All right, let's look at the next headline. Unbundling TCN will crumble power sector, threaten national security. And this is according to Labour.
Yes.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1.
National Union of Electricity. Hello, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, the National Union, yes, the National Union of Electricity Employees, NAU, they have written a petition to the National Assembly rejecting and also warning about the unbundling of the TCN, that's Transmission Company of Nigeria, which the NERC by the regulatory body, that's the NERC, National Electricity Regulatory Commission, that such an act to unbundle the transmission network company would crumble the sector and also threaten national security. Now, if you look into the article, they were saying that this act was being done hastily, and that if you take a look at the benefits of the 10-year post-privatization move on the electricity sector, which was about in 2013, that was when PHCN was unbundled into about 11 discos, and then about one transmission network, and then about 5 or 6 or 7 gencos. Now, the point here is they're saying that this would definitely crumble the sector, that there's no benefit that has come out. That what people should see is that the loopholes that were inherent in the current privatization, which is why we're not getting the benefits, will also be part of this unbundling of the TCN. However, they didn't really break them down, but I think we all know what they're referring to in terms of the fact that at that time it was said that the discos were sold to some of the federal government cronies, people who had a hand in government. That's one. Secondly, many people still question why it was after the unbundling that the discos discovered that, there was more issues and challenges with some of them, and that the required investment was not available on ground. Also, given the fact that they had some kind of fixed pricing. So they're saying that if they unbundle the TCN, that the same thing may happen. But you see, my debate and challenge with this is that we all know that currently the major loophole, or would I say the weakest link of the power value chain, is the transmission network. The gencos, at least as of today, have installed capacity of about 15,000 megawatts. Now, unfortunately, they can't even evacuate that to the discos, who at the moment have only given us maximum 3,000 to 4,000 megawatts. That's what the nation has been running on for almost 10 years now. Administration to administration, we will raise the capacity, So it's not so much that the discos can't give you the lights. The point is, do they even get from even the 8,000 megawatts that the gencos have available? Because the transmission network, apart from the fact that it breaks down literally once every month, and sometimes twice, you're not able to, and the way the value chain works, they can't sell direct. So what you have is a completely dilapidated system. I would expect the transmission network of Nigeria, the staff and the employees that are screaming, because some of them also believe that they will lose their jobs if the transmission network will be privatized. I think these matters are real and valid. However, the reform process that the government is undertaking, again, should be looked out squarely. And some of these challenges should be brought forward to the table to ensure that when they go for the bidding, okay, that all these issues that we have faced that they're pointing at that have been deal breakers for Nigerians and all of us who will be the eventual stakeholders should be sorted out. I think I'm not dismissing what they have to say, but I very much believe that the government should lay some of these issues out. NERC especially should do a proper job now that they're re-looking the privatization process of the whole power chain, from the GENCOs to the transmission network of Nigeria to the DISCOs.
All right, you're still listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Do stay with us. The conversation continues. Can you feel it? Feel it. Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Lakunle, are you the one making her happy?
I miss MJ, Sha.
I know, right? Like, it's so weird to imagine that Michael Jackson is not here. It's crazy.
Lakunle, who's making Zibby so happy?
All right. We're getting ready to go back. It's still freshly pressed. It's still freshly pressed and smooth 98.1. It's Zibby here, and I'm joined by the analysts Lakunle and Devoe. We have a few more headlines to go. I see your messages coming through. Please keep them coming. 0809 440 981. Let's see. Abbas Oladipo says, somebody someday must implement laws that are passed by the National Assembly, no matter what time it is. One thing we should always know is that there can never be a right time to do anything. We don't pay attention to our lawmakers. We just like to focus on all things that don't really matter. Let's see. I've got another message. This is from Yinka. Yinka says, clarity is key here. But wait, were we sleeping in 2015? Just like you stated, Lakunle. And another message says, we move to unbundle the TCN and issues arise. Why? It's widely acknowledged that TCN's ongoing ownership dilemma is at the core of this power dynamic. So why does the union oppose it? When they went on strike and filmed one of their members shutting down electricity, wasn't that a threat to national security? I believe their resistance stems from losing their leverage over Nigerians if TCN is unbundled. Why all these now when the Siemens project's coming up and added some more megawatts to the grid? Next headline comes from Premium Times. Luckily, Nigeria seeks funds to strengthen pandemic preparedness and response.
Like we want to say, we would prayerfully say, may we not witness another pandemic again. But having said that, it's good to note that we are anticipating a possible health whatever, right? But rather than focus on the anticipation, there are bigger health issues today in Nigeria that demands our immediate attention. I will talk to malaria, talk to child and mother mortality rates after birth, post-birth, pre-birth, and all that. But let's leave that for a moment and just focus on this. So the Minister of Health tells us that we shall be applying for the next round of funding of about 500 million for eligible countries. Nigeria happens to be one of them. So like, and this came about, and that the Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control was also at the dialogue, and both of them explains the reason why we have to have this. To me, yes, it's a good thing to have, but wait a moment. The isolation centers that all the various state governors built in 2020, what is their state today? What have we done with them? Have we converted them to other uses? The oxygen manufacturing plants that Lagos State government committed to in 2020, Is it up and running? Is it still functioning? So that we're not building on emptiness. We need to continue to build on the infrastructure that exists. So I would hope that the NCDC, the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, the commissioners of health in all the 36 states of Nigeria, plus the Federal Capital Territory, are singing the same tune in respect of this. And these monies are spent. And while we are spending money in infrastructure, in building stuff that, like I've mentioned, we should also commit some of these funds to research. Just yesterday, we had the story what AstraZeneca is doing about its COVID vaccines, right? What are we doing about research into vaccines for those diseases that we're anticipating? The people in agriculture have spoken to us several times about the bird flu and how it affects human beings, the transmission of various diseases from bats and bat fruits. These are the kind of researches that we should be investing this kind of money in, so that at that time when this thing comes, we have a ready infrastructure and knowledge base to attack it. What are we doing about manufacturing of those basic things? The latex hand gloves, the syringes, all those things. These are the kind of things that we should be thinking of getting ready with, not just the buildings in itself. And I hope that when these monies are received, when we get this funding, they are probably applied to these things, and then we'll be ready for what we now call health security as well.
0809440981 from Punch, Lagos Niger partnership to boost rice production. Devoe?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Lagos State, with the almost second tenure of Sanwo-Olu, have been putting some dedication to the agri sector. And I must actually say this is one of the commendable stories of this administration. The Agri Commissioner was speaking on how to boost the rice value chain within the country. Lagos State is partnering with several states. As you know, Lagos State has an installed capacity of the highest or the biggest rice milling plant at Imota, which produces about or requires about 200,000 tons of rice paddy. Long ago, during the Ambode administration, they had a partnership with Kebbi State, which brought about Lake Rice. Now, I'm glad to see that they have partnered with the Niger, the paddy that would be fueling the Imota rice plants. And hopefully, maybe that will be called Lake Niger Rice, right? The commissioner also spoke on the fact that other agriculture initiatives like the meat, they're releasing about 40 meat vans. These are refrigerated vans that would distribute meat around Lagos State in a hygienic manner. Also, they spoke about the fresh farm market systems, where farmers would be brought into a location to sell food at reduced prices, and also the Okorie initiative, which was to support it's a form of palliative to be feeding Lagosians in this period through various mama puts. But basically, what they were looking the food security plan. And she also spoke to the fact that they were supporting about 20,000 Lagosians in terms of agri extension service training, of coconut farming, meat and crop production, etc. I must commend Lagos State for this. It's a well thought out project and initiative. What I would love to see is that they literally focus and put more money behind it, because agriculture is one of the highest employee generating sectors, and that could literally take off a lot of our youth who are on the streets looking for one form of handout or the other.
it's so instructive that Lagos State, with the smallest land mass, is the one leading in agricultural initiative in the last 4 years.
Interesting. Joseph Menyi says, Lakunle may have gotten it wrong. Has there been any time whenever public interest or otherwise is put to the media for the public, when they want to execute anti-people policies, they're quickly deliberated on and passed immediately without any response from citizens? The bitter truth is that the government and elite just want to fleece Nigerians all sorts of policies. Mind you, CAC is already warming up the compulsory registration for petty roadside POS operators on or before July ending. Well, these in some way, their POSs are taking over the jobs of banks. I mean, you can't see money in cash machines, so they should be registered.
Yeah, actually, the banks will just withdraw their teller machines from everywhere because you hardly find anyone where there's cash inside. So they should be registered, really. And for them, it's like maybe like 5,000 naira to register. The business they are making, they should be able to afford 5,000 naira to register.
Absolutely. Let's see what Vincent says. Deep thinking is prescribed in government. JJ says only two things are certain in life: death and taxes. But why is Nigeria making sure we die while we are paying taxes? Michael says, even if it's a 1 naira charge, Devoe, people will feel it. Lakunle asked where Nigerians were when the act was passed at the assembly. Don't forget that there are allegations that the charge was secretly introduced into it. So how are people expected to know? Nigerians are plagued with numerous charges from government, both directly and indirectly. Stamp duties, electronic fund transfer charges, cash deposit and withdrawal charges. It's a long list. Nigerians are practically on chokehold, and the government needs to take their hands off our collective necks. Let's see. This message comes from Gary Newton. Gary says, please, what's the function of and what's the use of the Nigerian government to Nigerians? We pay for everything in this country. Road, we repair, lights and us, water, healthcare, property, security. We are on our own. Please tell me one thing we don't do. Let it be we don't need their protection. Let's hack and steal for each other. Okay. Ibukun from Ketsi says the voice correct about TC and the unbundling is in line with the Electricity Act of 2023. So where was the union as a lobby group when it was being passed? The grid managed by TCN is the weak link and the highest point of inefficiency that is still managed by government. That's all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed. Sorry, I can't take all your messages, but thanks for listening. Thanks for sending your thoughts across. And special thanks to our analysts, Lakunle and Devoe, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, President Zibby, for having me.
Devoe, all right. Thank you, Devoe, for being on the show this morning.
Thank you.
All right, do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast. Thanks, Devoe.
Devoe,